Hello everyone, I am Shivam Banka and I'll be going through this management case study interview. The purpose of this video is to give you an understanding of how a management case study interview goes and what is expected of you. For that reason, this video is divided into two parts. In the first part, I'll be going through the interview and present line by line understanding of it. In the second part, I'll analyze the interview as a whole and present an overall analysis of it. For context, all the black text with the blue background which you see is the statement of the interviewer, and all the blue text with white background you see is the statement of the candidate. Today we are doing a case study interview where our client is an alcohol company. Let's begin and see how it goes. The client is an experienced alcohol manufacturer in India. They have been facing a gradual decline in profits and have also experienced a sudden dip in profits recently. The client wants you to identify the reasons for the decline in profits and give recommendations for improvement. The first line said by the interviewer in a management case study interview is very important because it tells you the exact scope of where you have to focus in. So from this statement, what do we have? We have that our client is experienced alcohol manufacturer in India, and they have been facing gradual decline. So there is nothing sudden which is happening, but gradually they have been facing decline in profits. And also, they were facing gradual decline, and suddenly there was a dip in profits recently. The clients wants you to identify the reasons of the decline in profits and give recommendations for the same. Okay, this is typical profitability interview, and a profitability interview is divided into three parts. In the first part, you understand more of the client's business, more of the industry situation, what is the competitive scenario, and understand more of what is happening in the industry. In the second part of the interview, you try to structure the situation and figure out where exactly the problem coming from. And the third part, you provide recommendations and solutions to solve those problems. So we are in the first part where we are trying to understand more of the client's business and the industry. I would like to begin by understanding more about the company and its product. What geography does the company cater to? Could you please tell me about the portfolio? The alcohol manufacturer makes several types of alcohol. It caters pan-India and some foreign markets. You may want to focus only on India. Okay. Is the decline related to all the products? Is this an industry-wide problem or a company-specific phenomenon? The decline in profits is faced by their whiskey brand. This is limited to our company. So exactly, it tells you that something company is doing wrong, which has the issue rather than at overall industry level. So there are different sectors you have to focus on. So if the problem is company level, you have to focus on company's revenue and cost. If the problem is industry wide, you have to focus on what is the consumer demands, consumer reactions towards the industry, what is the government policies, and such external factors you have to focus on because everybody is affected by it. So, but it's a company's problem, and they have been facing issue with their whiskey brand, and only we have been told only to focus on Indian market of our clients. So so let's see how it goes. Great. I would now like to dive into the case and structure it to get to the bottom of the problem. I would first examine the gradual decline in profits and then move to the sudden dip recently. I will begin by breaking down profits into their component parts, revenue and cost. Next, I will identify which of these are the problem and further look into internal and external factors that may have changed to alter the revenue of the cost structure. Would you like me to proceed this way? So now we are moving to the second part of the interview where we are trying to structure the problem, and typical profit is divided into revenue and cost, and that is what the candidate is doing and figure out figuring out where the problem is coming from. Yes, that sounds like a good start. Why don't you go ahead? Since profit are a function of cost and revenue, I would like to know if the cost has increased or the revenues have decreased or both. We have been we have seen a decline in revenues, whereas the cost has remained the same. Okay. Okay. I would like to break revenues down into quantity sold uh, times price per unit. Have we seen a decline in the quantity sold or a decrease in price per unit or both? The price per unit have remained the same, however, the units sold have has decreased. Great. So far, I know that the decline in profits is due to the decrease in quantity sold. Now, I would like to analyze why the quantity sold has been declining over the years. I would like to look at internal and external factors. Okay, so going in the one thing the candidate is doing is going in a very structured manner. He's not trying to provide suggestions and or thinking out of the box. He's trying to exactly structure the problem and go one step at a time to figure out where the problem is coming from. So right now we have figured out the decline is due to quantity sold, and now we want to analyze why is it happening. Uh, and then and for that reason the candidate is divided the decline in quantity sold into external and internal factors. Sure, go ahead. I'll start with problems that could have reduced quantities sold due to internal factors. I would like to divide the factors into production, distribution, push, and customers pull. Would you like me to explore all options or look into any one of them specifically? Why don't you walk me through the framework and I would be able to tell you more as we go along. So the candidate was trying to get a direct answer to figure out very fast where the problem is coming from. But the interviewer is like, let's explore everything and then we'll decide. Then I'll tell you where exactly the problem coming from. Okay, there may be a problem with production. Yeah, also in previous point, the candidate has broken down the entire value chain from production to distribution to customers pull and push. Okay. There may be a problem with production wherein we are not producing enough. This could be because of the lack of investment in R&D, decrease in manufacturing, labor issues or machinery issues, packaging issues. Apart from this, there could be a change in distribution strategies where the push of the product towards the market has reduced. This could be because of two reasons, either the change in distribution channels or the change in the number of distributors or the change in margins given to the distributors. Lastly, there is a decrease in the consumer demand due to decrease in marketing or change in taste, demographics, age, or location preference. So every point the candidate has expanded for the interviewer to pinpoint where the interviewer wants him to focus on. Focus on the consumer demand and change in demographics. Why do you think this is the reason? I would like to know more about our whiskey brand. What are its core competencies and how is it different from its competitors? The company has a premium chain of whiskey brands. It seeks to offer customers better taste and superior packaging. This comes by charging customers a premium price. Thank you for the information. I hypothesize that due to a younger generation entering the market, they do not identify themselves with the premium brand of whiskey, and they may be more willing to spend on inexpensive brands. Further, I suspect that the change in demographics has also led to the increase in small bars and pubs where premium whiskey may not be sold. Also, people in this price sensitivity could be another um, added factor for the lack of demand. So pretty much straightforward, where candidate has given out the reasons why it's very difficult for a premium whiskey brand to exist in current situation. And current situation is a lot of youngsters entering the market, a lot of local pubs and bars being opened, and people preferring more inexpensive brands rather than our previous generation where premium whiskey brand was a thing, which is not the situation in the current generation. Yes, you're right. The problem lies in the changing ideology of consumer and their preference in the whiskey. The current market does not value premium whiskey in the same way as the shift towards pubs is making it difficult for people to enjoy whiskey for the taste. Why do you think there is a steeper drop in profits recently? Now we are moving to the second problem because the first problem was slowly decline in profitability, and the second problem is sudden dip. So we are in the sudden dip decline in profitability part of the interview. I would like to analyze the external factors. The introduction of new whiskey by the competitor, negative publicity of our whiskey brand, or any other government policy reform. So, list of external factors, which is quite generic in all the cases. Uh, that's a good list. I would like you to think about the possible government policies that could have impacted our sales. Sure. The government policy changes could be reform in drinking age in the country, the shutdown of several bars, wine shops, and pubs due to legal or political reasons, renewal of licensing of all alcohol manufacturers. Pretty much straightforward. What are the government policies and how could have they affected pubs? Great. You're close to the answer. The government recently passed a law where all the bars at a distance of 500 meters for the national highways were no longer allowed to sell alcohol, causing further damage to our sales figures. What recommendations do you have for the company? So now we are moving to the last part of the interview where the candidate will provide recommendations and solutions for the problem identified. There were two problems being identified. One was a slowly decline uh, problem was due to the change in ideology, and the sudden dip was due to change in government policies. So the recommendations and solutions will be offered on those two lines as well. I would divide my recommendations into short term and long term measures. In the short term, the company can indulge extensively in marketing the premium whiskey product. The product should be placed in upscale locations such as sports bar, hotel lounges, high-end restaurants. This way, the perception of the premium brand remains and the value is not diluted. My second recommendation deals in the change with the change in law. The company can look into lobbying with the government since all the companies would be faced with the problem and there is no scope to find a way around the law. In the long run, in order to address the changing preference due to demographic change, I would recommend that the company invest in production, innovation, and launch a non-premium label of whiskey. These are good recommendations. Can you quickly summarize the case for us? Okay, and this is sometimes the interviewer can also ask you to summarize, which is not very common, but sometimes they do. So you have to be mindful of how the interview went through and put it together in some words at the end. The company is an experienced Indian alcohol manufacturer facing a decline in profits over time and more so recently. The gradual decline in profits can be attributed to to a slowdown in the number of units sold for its premium whiskey brand. The reasons for this is the change in taste of the consumer. A sudden dip in profits recently is because the government law passed to regulate the sale of alcohol. To improve profits, the company can market its product more extensively and lobby with the government to change its recently passed law. Over time, the company can launch a non-premium label of whiskey. So exactly, the candidate walked through introduction of the client, uh, then introducing the client's problem, uh, then telling the reasons for the problem for the clients, both in steep decline and both and in gradual decline, and then telling the suggestions and recommendations with the candidate offered in it. So it was pretty well structured summary at the end. So now we'll be moving to the second part of the interview where I'll be analyzing the interview as a whole. Okay, so sometimes at the end of the interview, the interviewer might also ask you for notes. So it's very important to maintain very clear and crisp notes and structure so that the interview can understand everything in one glance. Interview notes. Break down the cause into internal and external factors. Inquire about product variety and geography. Whiskey sold is a premium product and appeals to a certain section of society. Current policies can influence alcohol sales. Break down recommendations for short term and long term. Case facts. Client is facing a gradual decline in certain carbon profits. Focus on Indian market. Decline faced by whiskey brand. Revenue has declined, and this is due to decline in unit sales. Now, this is very important where you structure the problem. So we have figured out the problem was coming from the revenue side, and that's why you divided into internal and external factors. Internal factors was responsible for the slow decline in the revenue, and external factors was responsible for the sudden decline in revenue. In internal factors, you have the candidate has divided and into production, distribution, and consumer pull. The problem was in consumer pull because people were not preferring their alcohol. In consumer pull, you have listed down the reasons such as marketing efforts, product quality, and change in taste. And change in taste was the reason for it. In external factors, the reasons which could have affected a whiskey brand would be competitions, change in government policies, and negative publicity. The reason was a change in government policies, and the change in government policies can be on terms of licensing, drinking age, and shutdown. And the problem was in shutdown since the government made the rule that you cannot sell alcohol in 500 meters from the highway. So that is how the whole problem was figured out, and it was how it was structured. So the recommendations offered by the candidate is for in terms of long term and short term. In long term, he suggested for change in for change in consumer, invest in product innovations to launch a non-premium brand to cater to the changing demographics who prefer cheaper alcohol and not keen on the brew and taste. In short term recommendations, firm can indulge extensively in marketing the premium whiskey product, lobbying with the government to negotiate with it. So it's also very important that you think in terms of client. So the client has invested a lot in building up a premium uh, brand. So you cannot directly suggest that you should just reduce your price and to target more audience. You have to think about if the client has been a premium brand, he has to maintain that image, but he can also launch a different vertical or different brand where he will sell whiskey at a cheaper rate to cater to different demographics. So it's very important to not just suggest whatever the first thought comes in your head, but also think from the shoes of a client whether your suggestions will be implemented or what exactly is the client looking for in the change. Uh, so those suggestions will be getting more brownie points in the interview as well. What are the observations and suggestions? It is important to capture the problem as described by the interviewer. In this case, a sudden and gradual drop in profits are the reasons for each would be different. Exactly. So that is why you have to really focus on the first statement told by the interviewer because it will tell you the information. And if you don't focus on it, you might not uh, be able to exhaustively come up with all the problems which the client is facing. Divide recommendations into short term and long term to help give a foolproof solution. This is also a very good strategy to get brownie points. Provide two types of solutions. Industries like alcohol are governed by stringent government regulations, which can be modified, resulting into further issues. So, if there is alcohol, always make sure to have covered government regulation as one of the point because it's highly regulated industry. So that was the case today, guys, and I hope you learned a lot. This was one of the most interesting case I had done till now. And if you have a case study interview coming up, all the best. And if you're looking to build a career in consulting and want to practice case study interviews, it's a very good habit to watch one video a day of case study interviews of different industries. And I'll be uploading one video every day so that you don't miss out on your habit, which is watching one video every day. For that reason, do subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss it out. And thank you for watching. Have a nice day.